TV, so that way there's a little bit of a almost kind of a unique piece of content there. So I'll be basically showcasing to you how I utilize that book and have it be a part of my life. And because there's some really interesting concepts in there, like the power of persuasion, the power of positive thinking, the power of your thoughts. And so, Jack Canfield, if you're not familiar with who he is, he's the one that wrote the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. He's also in, if you've had the opportunity to watch The Secret, which is also on Netflix, and he was storied there where he put like $100,000 check he wrote out to himself, put it on the ceiling, and at the time he was making about 18 grand. So he was making basically $9 an hour. And that was the most he'd ever made. And so for him, making 100,000 was just like this totally unattainable goal. By the end of the year, he had first sold a little bit of a small book that he'd written as kind of the beginning thoughts of Chicken Soup for the Soul, and ended up, and it's cool if you go on the Netflix and watch The Secret. It's kind of cool how he plays out the story. Anyway, so he got like $98,000. So he didn't lament that he missed it by like $1,500. He was just super excited that he got there. So that's what I'm able to showcase to you, the application of these in over a year, and see what happens, see what great things can come because of it. A lot of it that I find for myself is it's intentional living. So you're putting out there that you want to be able to, number one, take control of what you want to do in your life. You're looking at IGTV is a good one, Annie. It's understanding that you're going to have good things, bad things are going to happen to you, and then it's about how we react to it. Are we proactive? Are we just reacting to how life is treating us? Are we being a victim? That things, it's, oh, woe is me. I find for most people that have that victim mentality, they haven't talked to enough people. They'll not know that their life isn't as bad as they think it is, because, man, the more people I get to know, the more that I realize their life is tough, much tougher than mine. And then so he breaks it down in this book, and I have it on audio, so I've already read a ton of it. But he breaks down into 6 segments: the fundamentals of success. Number 2 is to transform yourself for success. Number 3 is to build your success team. 4 is create successful relationships. 5 is success in money, and then finally 6 is success in the digital age. So it'll be really exciting to be able to share it with you as I journal out, basically, vlog style, my engagement with this and how it plans out. I find for a lot of people, what they think in their own mind becomes their limiter. You can read a lot about what people thought about their limiting beliefs. One that comes to mind is that people didn't think you could run a 4-minute mile. That is like physically it was an impossibility. No one could ever do it. And then all of a sudden, when somebody ran a 4-minute mile, I hit the 4-minute mile. All of a sudden, it just became more and more people were able to do the 4-minute mile, because the belief then became is if one person did it, then I can do that, right? So if you saw that, hey, that guy, he doesn't look very, very fast. I bet I'm fast, and I think I can do it. And so all of a sudden, that limiter comes down. The other one that reminds me of is Henry Ford, had the engineers, this is back when they were building the Model T, I think it was on a 2-stroke engine. He wanted to create a V8 engine, a V6. And they're like, it's impossible, you can't do that. And they're like, well, so you're going to do that. And that's what you're going to do. So come into work every day and try to figure it out. And so they would come into work, check in with six months. How's it going, guys? No, it's impossible. We're not going to be able to do it. Guess what happens after 18 months? They did it. So they did the impossible. And what it was is they gave themselves enough time to figure out the solution to that problem. And I find for a lot of people out there, they don't give themselves the opportunity to fixate on a problem long enough to find the solution. That sometimes it's not A, it's not B, it might be like level T is the solution to the problem that's in front of them. Or it might not even be the one that they're going to try out right now. They might try out, A, B, and C, and then contemplate D, E, F, G, and all of a sudden go back in at M and work at it. And then all of a sudden it's a combination of B and N. Those are the ideas that you should be doing it. And so I think a lot of times we end up a good example is people that want to move their career somewhere. They think, oh, it's too difficult, or what if things don't go right, or what if I got rejected by that company? Then you haven't thought enough about your career. on where you want to go, where you want to take it, and who you want to be when you grow up. And so the other thing is to avoid expectations. I think a lot of people, they put expectations out there that they need to be somewhere by a certain time, and I should be married by this time, I should have this kind of house at this time, and your expectations that you've given yourself are totally inappropriate. So a lot of times we have these different expectations for ourselves when we're a teenager. You're 14, 15 years old, and you're like, oh yeah, when I'm 26, I'll be a multimillionaire. Well, when you're 14 years old, you had no idea what millions were. Like, you made $7 an hour, and you thought that you could make $1 million just by working 40 hours a week, making $7 an hour, and you could do that in 2 years, right? Like, you had no concept of actually connecting the dots on how you could get to where you wanted to go. Or you're 14, you're like, oh, when I get married, I'm gonna, live in a big house, and you're like. And you realize, actually, you don't want a big house, and actually, you don't want to be married, and you don't want to have children. So all of a sudden, all these things that you thought you wanted as a teen or as a child aren't the things that you want at all. The person that wants let's say a Ferrari doesn't realize when they have, let's say, 6 kids, that a Ferrari is a completely impractical car, right? Especially if you live in the Midwest, where in our neck of the woods, 6 months out of the year, you're not going to drive that car because you're afraid that, one, that you might fly off the road, but someone else might fly off the road and run into you. So a lot of our expectations become our limiters because we still run after these certain goals or these aspirations when we haven't really thought to ourselves, do I still really want that stuff? And a lot of times we don't. So the reason why I bring up some of these thoughts right now is I've gone through a lot of just change in the last month, where I was for 13 years I've been in one industry, financial services, ran the practice, went into field leadership, training, development, recruitment, coaching, and then I just was not getting the satisfaction I wanted out of it, and so I decided, you know what, I can't do this. Like, I can't go into work and like pretend like I don't want to do this. So what I'm really good at, luckily over the years I've been strong on personal development and knowing me, and so I knew that leadership, strategy, public speaking, training, development, engaging with people. I love people, so I know I needed to still be in that kind of realm, that kind of atmosphere. And then so what I did is I just reached out to some people privately and said, hey, I'm looking for a change. This is what I'm looking for to do. Here's my specific skills, kind of like Liam Neeson in Taken, except I can't go kill a bunch of people, but I have some specific skills. And so as I reached out to those people and told them specifically what I wanted to do and leveraging my time and my efforts career-wise, then they introduced me to some different companies, they introduced me to some different individuals, and so then I was able to have some really nice conversations. And so now I find myself, can you see it behind me? Working over here at Seek. So it's a career in staffing, and I love it. Being able to for me, it's helping people get a job. And it's helping companies get people. And so I'm super excited about it. Sheraton, thanks, buddy, by the way. I had my buddy Sheridan. We sat down. He talked to me about what he's doing, what he loves to do, and gave me some great advice. So I owe you lunch, buddy. So I think for a lot of people, it comes down to a couple things. Number one is don't allow fear of paying the bills and chasing after those monsters financially keep you in the same job just because you're like, I got to pay the bills. That is totally demotivating, and it's a bunch of bullcrap. Don't allow yourself to believe it, because guess what? We live in a very low unemployment world right now, and so if you want to get the job that you want, you can find it right now. So the question is do you really have the talents to get the job that you want, or are you kind of kidding yourself? So the number two thing, the first one is belief that you can go get the job that you want. Number two is avoid that fear of kind of getting in that rut of not being able to make any changes. The last one that I would say for most people right now, is they really don't know what they want. They're not very specific. They know what they don't want, which is just as important as what they want in my life, because both of those answers, or all the answers to those two questions, will really define what you're going to do. And I find for most people, success is not defined by the car you drive, the clothes you wear, the house you live in. It's defined by what you're doing. And if I take this straight out of Earl Nightingale, that a successful person is someone who's doing exactly what they intended to do. Or in simple terms, a successful person is someone that's doing what they want to do, right? So it's the person that says, I want to be a teacher, so they decide to go to college get a certificate, and now is teaching third grade elementary school. They don't go, oh, well, I only make $48,000 as a third grade teacher. You knew that that's what you were going to do. Most teachers aren't making millions of dollars unless you decide to write a book like Dr. Seuss and start peddling it yourself. Then again, now you're entrepreneurial. So that's a little bit different. Super relevant, Chris. I'm glad this is helpful for you, man, because that's what I want to be able to share with you guys, because I don't have all the answers, but I want to share with you my journey as I'm finding different answers. I do have a lot of confidence in some of the things that I am doing in my life, and there's certain things that I'm just kind of learning on the fly, right? Just like I have a lot of parameters or guidelines on what I'm going to do for who I am and where I want to go, but at the same time, I don't have all the answers. And so I hope that we together as a group of networked individuals connected together digitally, face to face, that we can help each other win. Because I find that it's very true, that adage of it's not so much what you know as who you know. That is extremely powerful for so many people, that they don't know the opportunities because they don't know the right people. They don't know what they should be doing because they haven't talked to the right people. And so a lot of individuals out there are you don't know what you don't know. And so you're not as polished or as expert as you want to be, or you're not as capable as you want to be, because you're not taking advantage of what other people know and who they know and the opportunities that exist. So the opportunity for me that came up here in Seek is literally I had said yes to join as a board member of this committee that's doing, really it's an ethnic group called Hmong people. Most of you don't know Hmong, it's Hmong. And they asked me to sit on this committee, and I said yes, I would, because I loved what the mission, what they're standing for. And in that, a couple months later, I was introduced to a gal named Pam Herr. Now, Pam and I, we're not buddies, but I highly respected the people that I was working with, and they introduced me to Pam. And I liked what Pam stood for. And so I called Pam up when I was looking for this job change, just because I respected what she did, and she worked in a staffing firm, and I was telling her specifically about what I'm doing. And then she goes, I don't know where we're at with this role with our company, but I think you might be a right fit, even though you are coming from a completely different industry. And guess what? They saw the skills, and it matched with what they wanted. They didn't care that I didn't come from the pedigree of staffing, recruiting, HR. They knew that if I had specific skills, they could teach the other things along the way. And so know that about yourself. Know that you have specific talents or interests and passions, and you can take those and shift it over to where you want to go. And so I want to be able to make sure that I'm helping you all win. So if I can be of any value, feel free. DM me, email me, send me a text on the old cell phone. Phone number's still the same. It's 262-271-4411. That won't change, at least for a while. And then, of course, check in for this, guys. I'm super excited to tell you about how I start implementing this, and I want you to do it with me, right? So if you're excited about it, go to this. I got this from the library, guys, so it's free. Now, of course, I do have the audio book, so I'm listening to that. That's how I'm really consuming it. But in order for me to teach you guys what I'm doing, I need to kind of textbook style it. So that's what I'm going to be doing this weekend, is going through, making some videos, talking about what I'm doing with it, create my vision board, and it should be just a ton of fun. And I want to be able to show you how the application of the power of positive thinking, the power of law of attraction works in the real world. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be without flaws, without mistakes, without things that are going to come my way. Dude, Tuesday night I was throwing up my guts, and so the power of some people would say, well, you attracted that to your life. No, I didn't. One of the last things on my mind is ever throwing up. Okay, so I did not attract that to my life. It just happens, and so that's the sun rises on the good and the bad. That's just how it is. And so sometimes we find ourselves in life with crappy situations. Like, it sucks. Just got told you got cancer. Just got, just threw your guts out. Just got laid off. Just got fired. Things like that happen. It's out of our control. It's what we decide to do with it. That's the more powerful thing. Is, are we just reacting to what life's giving us, or are we proactively switching and saying, I'm going to go in a specific direction and move ourselves in that path? So looking forward to just sharing you the application of the success principles by Jack Canfield. All right, everybody, got to go back to work. Hope you're all doing well. If I can be of any value to you, please let me know. And also, just look out. We're going to be doing just a ton of stuff here. That I kind of have a free reign here on social media. Be doing tons of stuff on helping companies talk about their company culture and helping employees individuals market themselves and get seen. All right, keep it real. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the heart attacks. Sherm's out. Boo! Oh, I like that comment.